to Legacies in Motion, where we go beyond titles and talk about the people, the stories, and the moments that shape our work.
I am Shaniqua Freeman.
And I'm her co-host, Alicia Angevine. And today is a really special conversation. We're sitting down with Linda Laul,
Hi, everyone.
who many of us know is wrapping up an incredible 40-year journey in this field. So Linda, first of all, we thank you so much for joining us for today's conversation.
I'm delighted to be here. I was privileged
Hope
and
you're
humbled.
ready for us to pick your brain a little bit
Sure.
and just find out more about who you are and the legacy that you're leaving here at Adapt Community Network.
Great.
For this first segment, we want to find out the person behind the role. So, let's get started.
When you're not in CEO mode, who are you?
I'm just Linda Laul. I'm a mom. I'm unfortunately my husband passed away. But I live in Queens. My home is in Queens. I have a condo out on the North Fork, which I spend weekends out on, enjoying the weather and sitting by the pool and going to the beach. Pretty simple person. I'm a grandmother. I have 4 grandchildren, and I love my family, and I'm very grateful to them. They've been very, very supportive of me over the years, and I love what I do.
Oh, we love that. Thank you so much.
What's something that instantly relaxes you?
I love to cook. I love to read. I love to walk on the beach.
Oh, nice.
I'm not big on shopping, but I will do that from time to time.
Okay.
I drive a lot, so I'll go for drives. I used to love to travel, but now I'm kind of by myself, so that's not so much fun. But I'm trying to convince my friends to see if we can
To go explore
take
the
a trip
world.
somewhere,
That's right.
So we'll see.
All
We'll see.
right.
Just a fun question. What's your favorite thing to make?
Oh, what's my favorite? I really don't have a favorite. I love to see new recipes. I'm partial to French and Italian food. But I'm pretty flexible. And both of my sons are very good cooks. So they enjoy cooking as well. So I love going over there and eating it. It's
I
great.
think that question came because Shaniqua and I like to eat too. So we like food.
And they always give me leftovers, which is great.
Sounds like good sons to me.
They're wonderful. They're wonderful.
What's something about you that people at work would be very surprised to learn?
I guess I'm actually very shy.
What? What?
I love what I do. I am passionate about what I do, and that I do with great fervor. But in other venues, I tend to be shy, and I don't know that people would realize that.
Would you say that your time and experience, not maybe just out of that, but since I knew you to spend your longest time, has that helped you come out of being shy? Because that's something we both just couldn't believe.
We both were like, what?
Yes, I would say so. I mean, prior to coming to Adapt, I had worked for OPWDD for almost 20 years when it was back called OMRDD.
Okay.
And that's where I kind of learned that if you really believe in something, you have to stand up for it and be assertive. And that's where I started. And then when I realized that I wanted to do more with that and came here to what was UCP of New York City at the time, again, it was the passion for the work and for the people that we support that made me realize if you want to get it done, people have to listen,
Yeah.
They may not like me, but I hope they respect me.
Right. That's a great segue into our next segment, which is kind of called Adapt Unfiltered. Since you talked about you working for OPWDD for 20 years, we would like to know.
What was your first job ever?
My first job ever was working in a state institution in Suffolk County as a teacher.
Oh,
And the role was to go onto the wards in this institution and work with adolescents that had never been in any program at all. So these were adolescents like maybe 13 to 16 years old. I was given a class list of 10 boys and 10 girls. I saw the boys in the morning and I saw the girls in the afternoon. And they gave me their dates of birth and their IQ. That was it.
wow.
No other information at all. I was introduced to what building they lived in, and they said, go, see what you can find out, see what they can do. Because the assumption was, it was a Title I program, the assumption was that because their IQ was listed as profound, that they didn't know anything and couldn't learn anything. That could not be further from the truth. I walked into this building, didn't know a thing. I mean, really did not know a thing. I had just graduated from college with a degree in elementary education. So I wasn't even a special ed teacher at the time. They didn't offer special ed back then. And we're talking 1971. And they said, here, work with these kids and see what they can do, if anything. Now, the difficulty was, I walked into the building, and the building was divided into 4 quadrants, and each ward was a quadrant. And each ward had a very large day room, a very large dormitory, and a smaller dining room. And then off to the side, there was what was to be a classroom. And each ward was the same way. It was a relatively new building. This was an institution out in Huntington that was built for the overflow from Willowbrook. And so I walked on into the building, and they gave me a key, which was about this big, about 4 inches long, heavy. And it was called a bit key. And it opened these huge doors to each of the wards. Walked onto the ward, introduced myself, and I looked into the day room. And in the day room were about 40 adolescents, boys, and they were walking around in diapers. That was it. No shoes, no socks, no shirt, nothing. And I had my class list in my hand, and I said who I am and what I was going to do, and the staff that were there just laughed at me and said, okay. And I said, well, can you introduce me to these people? So as I said the name, they would point to the person. So I started to walk into the day room, and they said, oh, you don't go in there. I said, why not? They're all in there. I said, well, you don't go in there. I don't understand, And they looked at me and said, well, they may pee on the floor. I said, okay, but they're walking around. So if they do, we'll clean it up. I was so confused. I'm like, I had never seen anything like this. Remember, I had been trained as an elementary school teacher, teaching children in classrooms. That was my experience. So, okay. I walked into the room anyway, and I met, people that I was supposed to be working with. And they didn't have much of a reaction, although when I walked into the room, many of them came running over to me because people didn't do that.
Yeah.
Right.
So Make a long story short, I met these 10 people that I was supposed to take out of that room, walk to another ward with them, and bring them into a classroom. I said, well, I can't do that if they don't have clothes on. And the staff looked at me and shrugged their shoulders. Okay. I said, well, do they have clothing? And they pointed to what was a smaller, it was a closet, but it was a large closet. And in it were mounds, and I'm telling you, almost up to the ceiling, mounds of clothing, not sorted at all. I managed to find shirts and pants for each of the 10 guys I was supposed to work with. That summer, I started in summer, right after I had graduated. And that summer, the task was to teach them to wear clothing. Now, everybody thought this was a foolish task. I said, they're not going to keep those clothes on. And it was true. In the beginning, I'd put a shirt on, they'd take it off. I'd put it on, they'd take it off. And I was all by myself. That's the other thing. No assistants, no nothing. And the staff did not help me. They just kind of watched me and thought, you're a crazy lady. Anyway, at the end of that 6-week program, not only did these children or young boys wear the clothes, they knew which shirt and which pair of pants had been chosen for them. And they, after a while, would go to that shirt and that pair of pants and want it. And because they knew if they put those clothes on, they would get off the ward. Because once we got them all dressed, I would take them to the other room. So I had to take them off the ward, open the door with the key, close the door with the key, and as I would turn to close the door, they scattered.
Oh,
So, and then I would round them up and take them to the room. Now, the room that was to be the classroom was empty. It looked like a classroom. It had a chalkboard on it. It had a bathroom adjacent to it, but it was void of anything. No tables, no chairs, no supplies at all. No toilet paper in the bathroom, nothing. So I quickly figured actually that, well, in order to make this work, I had to scrounge up table, chairs, toilet paper, and supplies. So I did a lot of that, after the first few days, I figured, well, I got to get all this stuff together. And I begged, borrowed, and stole and managed to do that. And so we had tables and chairs, and they didn't know how to sit in a chair. They didn't have any. They hadn't learned that was what you were supposed to do. By the end of that program, that 6-week program, they knew they wanted to sit at the table in a chair. They learned that if they sat there, they would get a cookie or something. Correct. They learned so many things. That same group, I did the same thing with the girls in the afternoon. So it was a very amazing experience. And it is what solidified my passion for working with this population, because when I left that program, I went home, and in my parish, I also taught 5th and 6th graders math. And these are kids that didn't do well in math during the school year, and this was a summer program for them. They didn't want to be there, not even a little bit.
Right.
So they were a bunch of brats is what they were. And they couldn't wait for the hour and a half to be over. And the contrast between the kids I worked with all day and these kids that I worked with at night was so drastic. When I gave any of those children during the day a cookie, you thought I gave them the world.
Yeah.
They were so excited, and they did anything for me because they got a cookie
Right.
or they got a cup of juice or, it was such a profound experience working with them. I stayed with those same 20 kids for 8 years.
Oh, wow.
It was only to be a 6-week program, and I was planning to go work in the DOE in New York City because I lived in Queens and this was in Suffolk County. But I stayed out in Suffolk County working with those kids for 8 years.
Oh, wow.
And fortunately, the program continued. They learned so much. We were able to get them toilet trained. They learned, obviously, to sit at a table and eat with a spoon or a fork or a spork, as they used, They learned, and this was the best, and this is what I did. I was in graduate school. I actually did a dissertation on the importance of communication. They learned to sign to us, to staff, but also to one another. It was phenomenal. Simple signs. They, if they needed to go to the bathroom, they knew the sign for toilet. Simple signs. They loved cookie or juice, drink. They loved it. We took them to parks. And they had never been out of that day room prior to that. But the major accomplishment was when, after about 3 years of working with these kids, I spoke to the director of the education program and said, they deserve to be in the classroom. They deserve to go to the school. They had a beautiful school on the grounds, but these kids weren't allowed to go there. I said, why not? Well, they're too disruptive. I said, no, they're not. Just trust me. They can do this. And they finally bused them to the school building. And I stayed at that facility. I became a treatment team leader and was responsible for a building of 71 young kids. And I managed to work with a psychologist. We set up what was the precursor to the CSE program. It was called Committee on the Handicapped back in the day. And we managed to get them into a BOCES program. So of the 71 kids, 42 of them managed to go to the local BOCES school. So it was an integrated program. They went with the kids in the neighborhood. They got out of the facility, out of the institution, and it was fabulous. Fabulous. So those are some of those early year experiences that really shaped my interest and my desire to continue to work in this field.
Needless to say, they say that it's a calling working with the
Yeah.
special needs population. So you were called. You went from elementary school
Exactly.
teacher to
Right.
doing what you love and doing what your heart desires, and you had such a profound impact on those lives back then, and then of course all of us here at ADAPT. So that's absolutely beautiful.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you for that.
Thank you for sharing.
You're
that.
welcome.
I would have never known.
It's probably a
Thank
longer
you.
story than you needed
No,
to
that's
hear, but
fine. And you also got to see the way this field has changed. So
oh my.
you're talking about no shoes, no clothes, so
And how we transition to what is now.
what is now?
Wonderful.
Yeah.
But I have a cautionary comment that everyone needs to recognize that we need to continue to advocate and advocate strongly. And our self-advocates make the major impact when they speak to the legislators, because so quickly it can turn.
Right.
If the money is not available and the funds dry up, you will not have the programs that we have now. And we can't just assume that all these programs will continue forever, because we all know without funding, it doesn't stay in place.
You're right. All right.
If the younger version of you who is just starting out could see you now, what would surprise them the most?
How old I've gotten.
No. So many changes throughout that time. I know there has to be something surprising to your younger self.
Probably, I guess, the path I've chosen. I didn't plan to become, a person in this field. I didn't plan to go into the field of disabilities. I didn't have, a sibling or a family member with a disability, but I've never regretted it for a moment. I have always enjoyed it, and I have felt that I've made a difference. And I, to my younger self, I would say, if you can make a difference, stay on that path. And I have stayed in this field as long as I have, because I have felt that I have always tried to make a difference, and more than that, encouraged others to, if you are passionate about what you do and believe in it, you should really fight for it and stay in it. I used to present at new staff orientation, and I talked about how I got into this field. And it is so important to believe in it. And, people know when you're just selling them a bill of goods. If you're just going through the motions, if you think it's just a job, it is not just a job. It isn't. If that's how you view it, you're not going to stay in it. Or if you're in it, you won't be that successful. Because you have to really enjoy it. Because if you don't, it's not the same. It really isn't. It's not fun. And, our motto, have fun, work hard and have fun, but make a difference. Yeah. The true words have never been said, because all three of those facts are so important. Yes, we all work hard here, but we really enjoy what we do, and we do have fun, and the people we support know the difference. Yeah. They know the difference. They know if you're just, mailing it in. Yeah. And, and I used to tell staff who were just starting out, if you come here and it is not what you expected, or if it's not something you can really pour your heart and soul into, don't stay. Don't stay. It isn't fair to the people we support. At the end of the day, I don't care what title you have. I don't care what your role is here. We all work for the people we support. That's a fact. And they deserve to get our entire focus and give them as much as we possibly can.
Yes.
Well, we thank you here at DAP, and I'm sure your younger self thanks you too for staying on that path, and so that we have you. So we appreciate that.
Well, thank you.
If you had a completely free day, no responsibility, what does that actually look like? Look like from start to finish?
I don't know. I haven't had many of those.
You got to start planning now.
Yeah.
I'd probably get up, make breakfast, think about what I would do. I'd probably watch the news first. I usually turn on New York 1 and see what the weather's like, and find out what terrible thing has happened in the world.
Yeah.
And then I would, if I had no plans whatsoever, I'd probably want to go outside, and if the weather was nice, I'd probably want to spend it outside. Maybe take a book and sit outside and read for a while. Go for a bicycle ride. Simple things, nothing fancy.
Sounds like a relaxing day, which
Yes.
you probably haven't had in a while. So I can't wait for you to get that first day and do everything you said from start to finish. So I think we learned a lot about you and your past, and we're gonna keep this ball of fun rolling. We hope you're okay with us.
I'm fine.
Getting to know you just a little bit better. So yeah.
In the early chapters, what were you learning? Then the next
Phase.
what started to change?
Well, in the beginning, I guess I was learning as I went as to, I was teaching, so I was trying to determine what was most important to teach, what was most important to, have these children do, and when I gave it a lot of thought, and, certainly the basic functional skills of how to dress themselves, how to be toilet trained, simple ADL skills were very important, how to eat properly. And when that was, pretty well established, I learned that it was important to teach the staff why we were doing this. So, because I came back every day and they watched me every day go through this crazy sequence of dressing the kids and undressing the kids, and they began to wonder, and you get friendly after a while, and they'd come into the classroom every once in a while, and I'd say, why don't you stay for a while, see what we're doing here. And they began to realize that each of these young boys and girls were, in fact, people like all of us. And they had personalities. They had likes and dislikes. And they communicated even before they actually learned signs. They were communicating all the time, either by facial expression, by grimacing, by screaming, whatever. I mean, they were communicating.
Right.
I learned very quickly what those different, whether they were sounds or facial expressions, what they meant, and you try to address that and communicate back to them. And they understood what I was saying. They may not have understood all the words, but they did understand when I was serious, when I was happy, when I was not so happy what they did. They learned that. And I tried to share with the staff how to communicate with them. That, one thing in teaching sign language, it's called total communication, that you use very few spoken words, only the word that relates to the sign, so that they make that connection. And I tried to explain that to the staff, and I began to teach the staff simple signs, and they used them. And to the extent that they did, it reinforced what the kids were learning. And that's, I think, how they became so proficient in signing. It was phenomenal. It was really great. So, by learning all of that, and that the staff learned that these kids were able to communicate, changed the dynamic tremendously in how the staff related to them. And that made a major difference.
So I know you said that you were working by yourself. You had a staff, but you were mainly the teacher. So, who were some of the people that were a part of your journey then? You had mentors, colleagues, coworkers, or it's just like you had to give it your all, and the staff just watch you. Well, I was gonna say crash and burn, but you didn't. You grew. So, did the staff just watch what happened? Do you have any-
Well, each building, as I mentioned, the structure was that each building had a treatment team leader who was like the building manager, if you will. And they had direct care staff who were on the wards with the, individuals. But then I also worked with an OT, a PT, and a speech therapist. And after we would finish, I would talk to them, and I tried to get them to work with me. And we set up, this was before having really structured treatment plans. Things were not very structured back in those days. And this is, we're going back again, early 70s. So, it was long before a lot of the regulations were put in place. So things were very loose. Although they had therapists, they weren't very organized. So I tried to get them to come into the classroom and, help me understand what the best range of motion is for certain people and what their issues were. So it was great to work with all of them. There were a few people in those early years that really impressed me. I mean, there was my husband at the time was a speech therapist, and he worked there as well. So he taught me a lot in terms of communication skills. He was working with a deaf-blind population, and I learned a lot about behavior modification through him. That I found very helpful in the classroom. And then I certainly when I came here, I would say that Ed Matthews was a huge influence, and I learned so much from him. He was a wonderful mentor. He was a good friend, and a tremendous advocate, and talk about someone who made a difference.
Right.
He made a tremendous difference. So I would say he was definitely a mentor to me.
Thank you.
Thank you. When did you realize, okay, this work is evolving?
Yes.
Like, was there ever a moment where you thought, I have no idea what I'm doing now or what I'm doing here? Like,
Well, we never had a playbook, if you will.
right.
That would have been nice. Back in the years when I was, working in the classroom, and even when I first began as an administrator, I had a good friend, Kathy Laul, who had a similar career path to mine. She was also a teacher and had also become a team leader, and actually became the CEO of UCP Suffolk.
Oh.
And she and I worked pretty closely together, and we talked about, if we were smart, if we wanted to make money in this, we really should have left the actual doing of the work and just created materials. Because back in the day when we were working, you didn't have any, the summits and the different companies that now exist really didn't exist to any great degree. So there were no supplies. So if you wanted them, you had to make your own. Had we gone into that end of the field and made some supplies, we'd probably be a lot richer today.
That's right.
But that's not really where our passion was. So, but it's very interesting how, yes, it has evolved. I mean, I look at the wonderful materials and curricula that have developed over the years, and, the coursework that, people can go into and learn special education techniques and how to manage behaviors. And, a lot of what is being taught today it's on a more sophisticated level, but the basics are basically what we did way back when, but it's more refined, if you will, and you have more resources, and that's tremendous. But through it all, if you don't have the passion for it, it's not going to work. When I walk into a classroom and I watch a teacher, you can tell within 5-10 minutes whether that teacher really wants to be there or really is just going through the motions. And if I can tell it, so can the kids. And that's true on any level. Whether they're preschoolers or they're adults. I mean, and my response to that is go into something else. Do something that is meaningful to you. Because if you don't, you're not going to be happy. And it's not going to have the same impact. Like people can be smart, but you need more than smarts. You need heart. You really need heart to do this job well. That's what I think.
We agree.
Yes.
Since you discussed Ed Matthews being one of your mentors and some of your time here at ADAPT, we would like to know,
what did ADAPT look like when you first started?
take us from the beginning here.
Well, when I first started in UCP, UCP of New York City operated in 4 boroughs. And not in Queens, but the other 4 boroughs. And that was due to politics back before I got here. And each borough was run by a borough director. And the borough directors were fine people. They were nice. And each borough had some residences and some day programs. Day treatment was the predominant program. But they weren't program people. So the programs ran differently. It was almost like each borough was its own separate agency. So when I got here, my job, I was hired as an assistant executive director for day program and clinics. So my job was to take a look at the day programs and see what we were going to do with them. They also ran workshops. We had 3 workshops back in the day. And the workshops were your typical workshops where they did piecework. There's one in Manhattan, one in Brooklyn, and one on Staten Island. And there were day treatment programs in all 4 boroughs. And they ran based on the style of the program director. So they differed from program to program. So when I got here, my thought was, and I had talked to Ed about this, I said, there's one set of regulations. So why are the programs so different? And he said, it's a good question. So I pulled on and I started having day treatment director meetings. And I said, we're going to bring everybody together and we're going to meet in one of your programs and we will rotate. So today we'll meet on Avenue West and a day treatment program, which was in Brooklyn. And next time we'll meet on Staten Island at Port Richmond Avenue. And then we'll go up to the Bronx. And they looked at me like I was nuts because they said, we don't leave our program. I said, well, you don't have to leave it for long. I mean, it'll be for a meeting. Right. But it'll give you an opportunity to see what another program looks like. And they said, no, okay. They half-heartedly said, okay. Right. I think they were taking bets how long I was going to last because they thought I was a little crazy. So, obviously, I lasted.
Everybody lost their bed.
And the program was identified by the name of the program director. Like up in the Bronx, it was Gus's program. Here in Brooklyn, it was Howard's program. And I said, but it's not. The programs should follow the same rules. At Avenue S, for example, the developmental specialists, that's what the teachers will call what are now have specs, but then they were called developmental specialists. Their desks were out in the hallway. They never went into the classrooms. And I said, well, how do you know what goals you should create? And they said, well, the staff tell us. I said, but if you're not in the classroom, how do you know that that's the right goal to focus on? Oh, well, we talk about it. I said, that doesn't make any sense. I said, you got to be in it to understand it. So I said, well, I think we should get rid of the desks in the hallway. I said, if you don't have room for the desks in the classrooms, get rid of the desks. So, I caused a little bit of upheaval. They weren't happy with me. And I said, you have to stay in the classroom. And I want you to work with the kids and the people to understand what their needs are. And that way, when you have a team meeting, you'll hopefully focus on the right goals for that person and then track progress. So I said, okay. Now, the other programs didn't run that way. The other programs, the people were in the classrooms. But for some reason, Avenue West did it differently.
Brooklyn stuff.
I don't know. Anyway, so it evolved, obviously. And day treatment was just very sedentary. They didn't go out much. They did a lot of tabletop type activities. And we began to feel that they need more than that. There's so much more for them to learn, and you want the learning to be functional. So, we talked about cooking classes, and we talked about doing things that would get them outside, gardening programs. And up in the Bronx, you have so much property. Why not have a garden up in the Bronx? Why not have a garden on Staten Island? They had a little space where they could set up a garden outside. So, and these meetings, that's what we would talk about. How can we make the program really meaningful? And that the people in the programs can learn how to do things for themselves and become more independent. So they began to think about it differently. And then we moved some people around. I took program director from the Bronx, moved him to Manhattan. Yeah, it didn't go well. I mean, the parents were like, what are you doing? Oh, my goodness. I said, but they need to see it differently.
Change.
Yeah. It was hard.
Right.
But people adapted. The Avenue S program and the program on West 23rd Street, I come to learn that they were set up because at the time that these programs were established, the executive director at the time did not want the people in those two programs to be in the main program because they were lower functioning. And I said, that doesn't seem fair. And it harkened me back to when I was working in the institution and the kids on the wards couldn't go to the main school building. I said, that's not fair. I said, if the program location is good in terms of travel, distance from home to there, that's one thing. But if it's just because of their functioning level, that's insane.
Mm.
So it kind of mixed and matched people a little bit. Um, and over the years, obviously, we moved into dehabilitation and tried to get a whole new way of looking at working with people.
Yeah.
And I mean, when I look back to what it was in 1990 when I came here to what it is today, I mean, it's phenomenal.
Yeah.
I mean, there's no comparison. The creativity of the people who work here today is amazing,
Yeah.
amazing. And the things that people get to do today, we couldn't even think about it back then. You know, I can remember having a day director meeting, and Ed came to this particular meeting and said, and we talked about going on trips. And, you know, we had started to have trips, but they were like local trips,
Mm.
like in Brooklyn that you could go to Coney Island, you know, or
Right.
little things like that. But, you know, some of the people, particularly people who lived at home, they didn't get to go on a vacation,
Right.
or they didn't get to, you know, they wanted to go to Boston, or they wanted to go to wherever, Atlantic City. And we did that with residential programs,
Mm.
but not with day programs. And we had this meeting, and Ed said, why not? Why can't they go? Well, because, you know, it goes beyond the day program, and you'd have to go overnight. And he goes, okay, so what? Like, yeah, you got to make arrangements for that. We have to figure out how to pay the staff and all of that, but it's doable. And why shouldn't people who live at home have those same experiences? And that just opened up the world. I mean, you know, day program people started planning going to Broadway plays that were at night,
Yeah.
you know, and as you know, right?
Yeah.
And but that was a concept that people didn't think outside of the structure of that day, those day hours. And we felt that why not? It's a learning experience, and people learn 24/7, and they should have that opportunity. So, I mean, we really did change the way we view dehabilitation or any structured program.
Linda, can I say something?
Sure.
Because I remember when I first went to go see The Lion King on Broadway. I went with that, UCP. And when I went back home to my mom was like, you lucky, you going to the best program. They taking you out. If they need a chaperone, you can ask me and I go. So
Great.
my mom still remembers that time.
That's great.
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah.
Change is hard, but
Yeah.
obviously change is good. So.
Yeah.
Change is necessary,
Right.
because if you don't continually evolve, you stagnate, and then you start to slide backwards. I mean, so it's important.
Yeah.
Forever growing. So we talked about some mentors and staff and colleagues who've had an impact on you. Now we would like to know,
Is there a person supported who had lasting impact on you?
we know you've met all of that
All of
community.
that,
Yes,
yeah.
yes, I
Have you
have.
had anybody you would like to mention, or any few people who have had a lasting impression on you?
So many of the people that we support have impacted me personally. I am so impressed with their accomplishments, and I learn so much from each and every one of them, and in ways that a book could never teach me. I mean,
Right.
I have a degree in special ed, but so what? I mean, nothing there taught me the experiences that I have had here at ADAPT, and also back when I was working in the institution. I have a few individuals that call me regularly. I have James Davis up in the Bronx is an individual who calls me just about daily. And he's an anxious soul, but he's very, very capable, very, very capable. And I have learned that, you know, if he just is able to talk through with someone some of the anxieties that he feels, they're real. They're very real to him, and we cause some of them. And I realize that. I mean, whether because of staffing issues or because of, you know, frustrations that he has, we're at the heart of it. I mean, he lives in a supportive apartment, so he's not impacted by staffing on a daily basis. But even, you know, the staff that come in from time to time to work with him on certain things, you know, he has an expectation that they're going to do this, and they end up doing something else. And there's not sufficient communication. If the staff would explain to him why they're doing what they're doing, he could understand why. But they don't. They just come in and do what they do. And, you know, I think it is so important that staff realize you need to explain yourself. You need to speak to the people that you're working with to help them understand why we're doing what we're doing. You know, Queen Davis is also someone that I talk to frequently. And, you know, Queen is someone also with some frustration. She lost her boyfriend a few years ago. She wants to live independently in the worst way, but because of her physical limitations, she will always require some staff assistance. And it's very frustrating for her, and I can understand that. You know, and certainly the older I get, I certainly understand it, you know. And it's got to be very difficult when you know what you want and you can't do it yourself. And, you know, I mean, she likes the way she lives, but she gets frustrated with it. And that's totally understandable. And I think when we brought in the people we support to work as training assistants to assist with new staff orientation, I think it is a tremendous addition because no one can communicate what it's like to live in a group home better than the people who do it. You can work in one, but if you're living in it, it's a very different experience. So, you know, we have so much to learn from the people we support. And, you know, there are so many of the people over the years that, you know, I mean, I was just talking to Jerry outside and, you know, it's so good to see him. And again, he's frustrated because he doesn't have his motorized chair. Yes, I understand that. If I couldn't walk from place to place independently, it would be very frustrating. He can't roll from place to place because he doesn't have his chair right now. It's frustrating. So he's got to depend on staff to push him around. It's annoying. We have to be sensitive to that, you know, and I think we often lose sight of it and say, well, he's hard on chairs. Well, he can't help that he, you know, has CP. I mean, that's not his fault. So, you know, we have to understand that. And if staff could understand what, you know, put yourself in their shoes for a little bit, it would change perspective, I think. And I think if we can teach new staff anything, that is an important lesson. And no one teaches that better than the people we support.
That's right.
Yeah. Oh, now we're moving on to a segment called Challenge and Growth. We talked about the highest. Let's talk about the real moments too. what was a tough season in your leadership?
I think when Ed got sick,
Hmm.
that was a very tough time because he was in a hospital in New Jersey, and I would come into work every day, and I'd start in the office and do what had to be done, whether it were things to sign or, you know, people to talk to or whatever, meetings to have. And then I would go to the hospital to see him and meet with him, to share with him, you know, what was going on and how things were going. And I did that every day for almost 9 months. And that was tough. The travel alone, the FDR was not fun. You know, sometimes it took as much as 3 hours to get there, so it was like frustrating. But that was difficult, and Ed was the most positive person during that entire time. He never gave up hope. He never thought he wouldn't come back. He truly believed that he was going to do that, and he was very happy when he actually was transferred back to New York, to a rehab facility. But unfortunately, you know, that didn't work out. But that was difficult.
What got you through it?
Do you have a support
Like
system?
support system, like who was your support?
The staff here were amazing. Everyone was tremendously supportive. So many of the staff came to visit Ed. So many people just stayed the course. Everybody followed, you know, the path that we had set and did their jobs, and the agency continued to flourish. That meant the world to me personally and to all of us. I think that the fact that we did so well during that time, and in the years since, I mean, year and a half since that occurred, I think, you know, gaining CQL recognition with distinction, tremendous. We have so much to be proud of. We have brought this agency so far, and it warms my heart to know that the staff really, you know, hung in there. And it's a tribute to Ed. It's a tribute to all that we've accomplished over the years. It is such a far different place. We are a true leader in the field, and it is important that we continue to be so. But it, you know, it takes a village, you know. I mean, to use a phrase that's been coined already, it really does. You know, this is not a one-person job ever. It takes everybody's pulling together, and everyone, and I mean everyone, really work together to keep Adapt as successful as it is.
As a growing staff here, I think it's a testament to the leadership roles that we have here at Adapt. Between you and Ed, there's lots to look forward to. So the ball will keep rolling because you guys set forth a good pace for us to follow. So I just want to drop that there, right?
Well,
You
we
know?
hope so. I certainly hope so.
And as a person supported, I love the fact that y'all gave me the chance to grow in every area. Because I used to live under Adapt's residence. Now I'm on my own. I used to work for Adapt. Now I'm in college, so I love the fact that y'all let individuals grow, but still protect us at the same time. So that I think.
So
that is a true testament to what we can accomplish if we're doing things right.
Yeah.
Because we take the mission very seriously.
Yes.
You know, it is so important. And it is one person at a time.
Yeah.
That your path is not what someone else's path is.
Yeah.
And we need to recognize that.
Thank you.
Thank you. So I know anytime we're talking about your legacy here at ADAPT or UCP of NYC, we're always going to have conversation with Ed. So, things get a little bit heavy. So we're going to just lighten up the mode just a little bit. We're going to
Sounds good.
shake it up just a little bit. And we're going to head into this segment called Adapt Unfiltered. Okay, so semi-quick fire, So let's get started.
Comfort food.
Soup.
Okay.
Any kind?
Chicken noodle soup.
Chicken noodle soup is always good for the soul. That's what they say. Okay, something you're weirdly good at.
Cooking.
Coffee or tea?
Coffee.
Beach or mountain?
Beach.
Okay.
All right.
Now we're moving on to the next segment. Rapid
Reflection. Got it.
One word to describe your journey.
Phenomenal.
Yeah.
Keep going.
Something small you'll miss, but something you won't miss.
Virtual meetings.
Wait, is that under the miss or won't miss?
I won't miss.
Okay, keep going.
Something that always made you laugh, even on hard days.
Ed.
That's beautiful.
What's something you had to unlearn as a leader?
And you can expand more than one word here.
I had to learn to let the game come to me. That, when I first came here, they really aligned me with the Nike phrase, just do it. And, more than once I had to realize you can't just do it. Sometimes you have to take your time and let it play out a little bit to do it right. And that's a challenge for me.
That's right. You seem to meet the challenge and exceed expectations, Linda. Okay.
Now we're moving on to segment 6.
Legacy.
Legacy and what comes next. When you think about legacy, no, not as a CEO, but as a person, what matters most?
That ADAPT continue to do the right thing for the people we support. And that we hold true to our mission.
I like
I like
that. How do you hope people feel working with you?
I hope they know that I always have their best interest at heart. That I'm demanding, but I will always support them. And I hope that at times I can be difficult, but I hope they know it's for the right reason or what I think is the right reason.
Yeah.
Always come from a good place.
Yeah. What do you hope people supported experienced?
I hope the people supported realize that they have opportunity here and become as independent as they want to be.
I can speak for me, I genuinely thank you so very much. I'm trying to get emotional, but thank you for truly, I'm going to say, taking a bet on me, but also let me fly, but still have the big safety net from y'all. So for me, I truly thank you. Thank you. Seriously, because from 23rd Street days to now, I'm a totally different person.
Yes, you are. And that's
So,
beautiful to see.
you're
It's beautiful.
welcome.
Uh, you
I
know,
didn't get emotional quick, but
It's all right.
understandable. I mean, I think for every person wants that. That you don't want to be limited
yeah,
by whatever your limitations are. You want to move beyond them.
yeah,
You know, there are things that I know I cannot do,
right.
and it frustrates me. You know, I always wanted to be a ballerina. Well, I will never be a ballerina. That's just not in my DNA, you know.
Yeah,
But you know, it's nice to dream about it. You
yeah,
know,
yeah.
and that's so important, and every person should have that option.
It's okay. A dad needed you more than Juilliard. Okay.
Yeah.
We needed you here.
Yes.
Well, Linda, what in your opinion still needs to change in this field?
I think we need to focus. I don't know if it's changed so much as we need more advocacy. I am frightened for the future because, you know, there's a national movement right now. Some states are actually filing lawsuits so that it will limit the rights of people with disabilities to live in the community. And I find that frightening because, you know, as I said, I started my career in an institution. I know what that's like. I don't ever want to see it go back to that. And my fear is that as good as things are now, they need to get better. They're far from where they should be, and they need to continue to move forward. And I am fearful that if government funding is curtailed, if the funds are not available, you're going to see a restriction to the types of program development that needs to happen. I think that we need to move so much further ahead with supported employment and true employment opportunities for people with disabilities. I think education of the general public with regard to people with disabilities. You know, there's a phrase that we are all temporarily able, and that is so true. And as, you know, the general population ages and you see more and more senior citizens, they begin to realize that, you know, all of their abilities are not guarantees, that, you know, they can't walk as well as they used to or hear as well as they used to. Don't take things for granted, and don't undervalue people who may not have all abilities. That although, you know, someone can't walk, they can do other things. Someone can't talk precisely the way you think they should, doesn't mean they don't have ideas to share. I think that the general public is very narrow when it comes to recognizing people with disabilities. And I think we have a responsibility to educate the public with regard to what people with disabilities can do. And I am very fearful about the funding going forward.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. What gives you hope right now?
When I walk into any of the preschools and I see all the children with their smiling faces
Mm-hmm.
and all that they can do. And first and foremost, they're kids and they're having fun like every 3-year-old, 4-year-old. And, they don't think of themselves as people with disabilities, and neither should we. That they're kids, let's treat them like children and let them have fun. And I think if we emphasize our motto of work hard, have fun, make a difference, I think it doesn't matter what your age or what your disability, we can all do that.
Well, Linda, I know that this is our first episode of Legacies in Motion. You are our legacy to start off with. So what we really want to know,
how do you really feel? How do you really feel as this chapter starts to close?
I'm very humbled by what I have learned. I'm very grateful that I've had the opportunity to do this for so many years. And I hope it continues. And I hope that long after I'm gone, that ADAPT continues to flourish.
We're going to put that up there in the atmosphere. That's going to flourish. Any plans for when this chapter finally wraps up?
Well, not immediately. I think, I haven't stopped working in over 55 years, so it's a long time to picture myself not working. I certainly, enjoy my family, and I will spend more time with my grandchildren. I'm fortunate. I have 2 sets. I have 2 sons, and my older son has 2 sons who are adults, and my younger son has 2 kids who are 7 and 4. So
nice.
it's a nice experience. So I get to experience grandchildren who are adults, and then I experience children. So I hope to spend a lot more time with them, at least initially. And then, as I said, maybe travel if I can convince somebody to go with me, and enjoy life.
and if you don't travel, Shaniqua and I will come over for food, and we will make sure to keep you on point with your cooking and
Okay.
okay?
Sounds good. Sounds good.
Linda, before we wrap up, what's something you wish people knew about you that we didn't ask?
I guess I wish I could continue to do this work. I wish I wasn't retiring. I love what I do. I have always loved what I do. I never felt that it was work. And I wish that could continue, but, I also am realistic, that there comes a point where I don't have the physical stamina that I did, 10 years ago or 20 years ago. And, time marches on, as they say. But I guess if I could do anything, I would love to stay working in this field in some capacity.
Linda, we thank you. We thank
Yes,
you so
thank you
much
so
for giving
much.
us your time.
Thank you. Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you for being an open book. I learned more about you than my almost 11 years working here. So I love that.
Okay.
We just appreciate the opportunity that you provided for your time. We appreciate you being the wonderful CEO that you have been to us, for filling all the shoes and all the holes and all the gaps that we needed. We appreciate you for that.
You're just
Thank you.
You're just an amazing person that I'll forever love.
That's right.
Thank you, Shaniqua.
Thank you, guys.
I
And
love-
to
I love you
everyone
guys.
listening, this is part of the story that brought us here. Welcome to Legacies in Motion. Let's show some love for Linda Laul.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so
We
much.
appreciate you.
Yeah.
Okay.